لله رب العالمين نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا من سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أحبابكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما ثم ما بعد فإن خير كلام الله تبارك وتعالى وخير هدى محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. I need if you can do it without knocking anything over, because sometimes reaching those glasses, because it's the glare, and I'm gonna feel like Sheikh Ali Sheikh too. Jazakallah khair. Ahlan wa sahlan, marhaban bikum. May Allah tabarak wa ta'ala bless you wa yujziyakum ala hadi liqa, and bless you for this gathering. We're live here in the studios of Marcus Safinatul Nuh with our dear brother from 5-2 Initiative, which is a platform for social and Islamic work. And he wanted to start a series of Islamic awakenings, Islamic teachings, Islamic reminders, and reviving the issue of the heart. And from amongst that big umbrella is the issue of the worship of the tongue, Ibadatul Lisan. Ibadatul Mada al-Lisan, the worship of the tongue. And this, I don't know why he chose me. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. It's a big topic. Maybe because, you know, the days in Damaj with Shaykhuna Muqbil, and after his death, Shaykhuna Yahya, and all of those many other shuyukh that we benefit in the study, that we benefit from during that time. And we learned from throughout the whole country. Maybe he thought that a big topic like this I could handle. But we ask Allah, Nasallah, Tabarak wa Ta'ala, Tawfiq, wa la Tawfiq illa billah, because there is no success except with Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala's help. Wa nasal Tabarak wa Ta'ala kama kana qala Shaykhuna Muqbil daiman wa abadan al-ikhlas wa sidq. And we ask Allah to give us purity. When we say purity, we mean that the action is pure. La riya'un wa la sum'a'un, that we're not looking to show off or to be seen. This is very important, the issue of ikhlas. Wa sidq kadhalik. Na'am, mada as-sidqu, to have truthfulness, because we know al-tabarak wa ta'ala hakin an munafiqeen fi sha'ni kadhibihim, that Allah talked about the hypocrites concerning their affair of lying, while they said nahnu nashhadu innaka la Rasulullah. They said we bear witness, and then they used the lam tawqid to emphasize and to make clear what they were saying was truthful, that you are the messenger of Allah. And what did Allah say in the end? He said, Wallahu yashhad innal munafiqina lakathibun. Allah bears witness that the hypocrites, the munafiqun, they were nothing but lying. So this is imperative. Sidq, ma'adha, na'am, truthfulness, wa qabl dhalika al-ikhlas, and to be pure in your actions and worship, meaning that you're only doing it to seek something from Allah, not from others. And this, as a misconception, people think, and then we'll get to the topic of the lisan, that if a person is being paid for something, and it's Islamic work, he's a teacher, he's a Quran sheikh or alim, or he's teaching Arabic or anything, to say, well, he shouldn't be getting paid according to this. This is not sincere. How can he take money? Then the issue is he doing it to please Allah? If the answer is yes, then he is allowed still some wages depending on what he's doing in the department that he's in. So this is yani, separate, in other words, from the issue of ikhlas, having sincerity when a person is earning something. But the action itself should be to please Allah, because Allah commanded you to do it, and it is something that, obviously speaking, Allah is going to be pleased with, and without that, you have no deeds. As the scholars say, the two conditions for everybody deeds to be accepted after he has his belief in Allah is the ikhlas, to be pure in that, to make it untainted, unadulterated. Wa ma'da as-sidq. And here sidq means if you're truly believing in Allah, in qul in kuntum tuhibbuna Allah fattabi'uni, as the Prophet said, if you're true in your claim to believing in Allah and loving Allah, then follow me. So they said that the truthfulness is following the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. So the issue of the tongue. There's a lot of ways to slice this cake, as they say. A lot of ways to handle this issue. One of them is the issue that I want to begin with from Surah Al-Ma'idah. And that is Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala Qablu Hada. Before that, let's define what is ibadah. Let's define what is ibadah. So here, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, in his famous treatise that we, mashallah, tabarakallah, had the privilege and the blessing of Allah upon us to study in Damaj, called As-Sunnatul Manthura. As-Sunnatul Manthura, Naam Ta'ifatul Mansura, Naam Fiqatul Najiyah, Naam, which is 200 questions and answers on Aqidah, about Hafid ibn Hakami came and he did that same thing. Shaykh al-Islam has one too, Ibn Taymiyyah. In this one, he mentions ibadah, he mentions ibadah, he mentions that apt, here has two meanings. Normally we hear apt and we think he's a Muslim. But apt also means the human being, the bondman, meaning the Bani Adam. And this one, Allah mentioned, وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَا فِي السَّمَاءِ إِلَّا يَسْجُدُ لِلَّهِ طَوْعًا وَقَرْحًا. There is not a creation in the heavens and the earth except that they make prostration to Allah, طَوْعًا وَقَرْحًا, willingly or unwillingly. So here, the ulama of tafsir from way back, they said here, sajda first doesn't mean like all seven, like we know as Muslims. But sajda here is a word used by Allah to show submission to Allah, doing what Allah designed you to do. And karhan means whether you like it or not, means you're forced. Like going to the bathroom. Let's say you say, I'm tired of going to the bathroom. I don't want to go to the bathroom. I can use my time doing something else. Well, guess what? This is karhan. Something going to happen anyway, against your will. Allah designed everything that eats and drinks to go to the bathroom. And like, for example, we say that bird, he's a Muslim. And in religious terms, this is wrong. But if we use the linguistic meaning of Muslim and we use the linguistic meaning of apt, then that bird is doing what Allah designed for him to do, fly around, to be in the tree. He talks the way that Allah designed him to talk, like this. So this is qarhan. Taw'an will be when a Muslim says, I want a person before his Islam says, I want to take shahada. A person before his or her Islam say, I want to take shahada, then this is willingly, voluntarily. And that's why Allah Azza wa Jalla said, La ikraha fi din. There's no compulsion in the religion, meaning that even if you force the person to say La ilaha illallah, he said it, if he didn't willingly want to do it in his chest, it's not going to be sufficient. Because the heart is the thing. Willingly, feeling good about it, without any compulsion, is the thing that makes that action something that is voluntarily in an Arabic taw'an. So here, if you take that meaning of ibadah or apt, ibadah, the word sajda, prostrating to Allah, meaning obeying, doing what Allah designed you. Whatever's in the heavens and the earth, beyond human beings, everything. And that this thing is an act, then it's talking about creation. So act takes the word creation. If you take the other meaning, where Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala mentioned about وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجَنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, then this is talking about the human being. So what's the point? The point is that when you talk about this issue, terms must be defined. What is ibadah? What is apt? Because many times, if people don't understand those terminologies, then how can they understand the concept? So apt either generally means whatever Allah created. Everything is at His servitude. Even the clouds, the sun, the moon, apt. If you're talking about jinn, mankind, angels, then they're in the class by themselves, and they are also called apt. So this is the first thing. The second thing, what is ibadah? Because coming from a Christian background, we understood ibadah to be in the church, clapping, singing Jesus songs, shouting. We said this ibadah, beating drums, playing guitars, that was ibadah. But as a Muslim, we said, no, this is not ibadah. It's not been sanctioned. Rather, it's haram to do this in the house of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. That what you do in the disco, you do in the house of Allah. Music is in the disco, you do in the house of Allah. Dancing, moving the body to music is in the disco, you do that in the house of Allah. So we know this is not ibadah. So what is ibadah? Umar ibn Khattab, the second Khalifa after the Prophet ﷺ died, he said ibadah is ta'ah, to obey Allah. This is ibadah. The same thing that down the line Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, he said that this is ibadah. But Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, he said a more overview and a more comprehensive definition of ibadah. He said that ibadah ismu jami'. Ismu is a noun. So it is the noun. Jami' means something that's comprehensive and it's compact. It's not big. It's not like you say I have a compact car, or I have a mid-sized car, I have a full-size car. Jami'. Everything is in there, it's contained, everything you need, but it is compact. So it's ismu jami'. It is a noun that basically covers a whole bunch of things. What's the first thing it has to be? Likulli, everything. Not some things. So you say some things are ibadah, that Allah loves, some things are not. No. Likulli ma yuhibbu Allah. Everything that Allah He loves is ibadah. So this, if you transfer this over to ibadah to lisan, the worship of the tongue, you can see where we're going now. Because if it's with the tongue and Allah loves it, fa'lam annahu ibadah lisan, then know that it is considered worship of the tongue. Wa in kana aks, if it is did do, the opposite, aks, the opposite, did do, then no, laysa bi laysat bi ibadat lisan, then it is not considered worship of the tongue. Bal huwa ma'siyat lisan, rather it is the sin of the tongue. وقد يكون يعني حالك lisan, it could be the destruction caused by the tongue. So if we go to what I want to say, I kind of put the buggy before the horses, then I backed up. Surah Al-Ma'idah. Al-Tabaraka wa Ta'ala in this surah, it deals with this a lot. The issue of what could be the worship of the tongue. The first thing Allah Azza wa Jalla mentions, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu awfu bil uqud. All you who believe, awfu, fulfill. Mada al uqud, your promise. When you go to the tafsir, from the scholars of Africa, from the scholars of India, from the scholars of the Arabian Peninsula, from the scholars of any place that we know on earth, Europe, and almost done other places that they may not consider places where scholars are, that scholars are, you'll find most people when they talk about that ayah, they don't just mention one thing, fulfilling the contract, but they mention the marriage contract. And the marriage contract is what? By the tongue. The marriage contract is mada by the tongue. Some people will say, well, you write it down. Yeah, lakin al-asl huwa fil lisan. The origin the basis of what you agree upon in marriage is with the tongue. Yeah. So they mentioned the issue of marriage. This is ibatul lisan. They mentioned bi' or shira. Bi', buying. Shira, selling. Bi', transactions. Or shira, selling and buying. This is considered the issue of keeping your oath, fulfilling your contracts. But also, it falls under the issue of ibatul lisan, because you have to say, this is 50 cents, this is $10, this is 100, and you have to be, as we said, with truthfulness and sincerity in that. As some people try to divide and say, well, that's in the civil life, that's not ibadallah. If you go to any books of fiqh, the scholars, they deal with bab or kitab bi' or shara, the issue of buying and trading. For sure, it's an issue of deen. So what you say when you sell and buy, this is ibatul lisan. What you say at the time when you want to enter a marriage contract, ibatul lisan. It's issue of worship of the tongue. Worship of the tongue. Then Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He mentioned how people went astray because of this issue of not keeping the contract. And this is also tied to your shahada. This is ibadah, worship of the tongue. Rasulullah was told by Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala about the Jews and the Christians. He mentioned, وَلَقَدْ أَخَذَ اللَّهُ مِيثَاقَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ وَلَقَدْ أَخَذَ اللَّهُ مِيثَاقَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ. And when Allah took the oath from the people of Israel, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala talked about them giving their oath. This is by tongue again. Ibadat lisan. Then Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala said, وَبَأَثْنَا مِنْهُمْ. And we sent from them, dispatched from them, took from them, وَبَأَثْنَا مِنْهُمْ مِثْنَيْ عَشْرَ نَقِيبًا. And Allah extracted from them 12 different tribes. وَقَالَ اللَّهُ إِنِّي مَعَكُمْ. And Allah said, I will be with you. Here, being with you means, as all of the ayats indicate, after Allah saying He's with somebody, with His sight, with His knowledge, with His hearing, meaning answering your dua, protecting you, sending you aid like this. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala mentions after dividing them and extracted from them 12 tribes, He mentioned وَإِنْ لَإِنْ أَقَمْتُمُ الصَّلَاةِ لَإِنْ أَقَمْتُمُ الصَّلَاةِ. This is a promise from Allah. لَإِنْ, this is conditional. لَإِنْ is a conditional phrase, shartiyya in the Arabic language. Allah said, لَإِنْ أَقَمْتُمُ الصَّلَاةِ. If you all were to establish the salah, وَآتَيْتُمُ الزَّكَاةِ, and pay the zakah, وَآمَنْتُمْ بِرُسُلِهِ, and believe in the messengers, وَأَبْزَرْتُمُوهُمْ, and follow them and respect them. After Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala mentioned that, He mentioned He will enter them to paradise. لَوْكَفَّ عَنْكُمْ سَيِّئَاتِكُمْ. We will forgive you for your sins. وَلَأُدْخُلَنَّكُمْ جَنَّاتٍ. And we will enter you surely into the gardens of the paradise. Then Allah said, وَمَنْ كَفَرَ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ. Whosoever disbelieves after all of this that we have did, we took an oath from you. Ibadat lisan. And we guided you and we extracted from you different tribes that were great tribes and gave you prestige and lineage and all of these things. And we told you to make the salah. And if you were to do that, and pay the zakat, and if you were to do that and believe in the messengers and respect and obey them and follow them, then Allah promised you the Jannah after your sins being wiped away. Allah said, whoever disbelieves after that. The first part of this disbelief is with the tongue, the opposite of the worship of the tongue. Because Tabaraka wa Ta'ala He said, لَقَدْ ضَلَّ سَوَاءَ السِّبِيلِ. They have went far astray. And this astray normally is by the tongue. Normally is by the tongue. Then Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala mentioned, وَبِمَا نَقَدِهِمْ مِيثَاقَهُمْ لَعَنَّهُمْ وَجَعَلْنَا قَلُوبَهُمْ قَاسِيَةً يَحْرِفُونَ كَلِمَ عَنْ مَوَاضِعِهِ. And because they betrayed what they agreed to, again, ibadat lisan. When you make a covenant with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, you cannot break that covenant. This is now leaving the worship of the tongue, and it affects the rest of the body. Allah said, because they broke the covenant, because of what they did with this covenant, with the tongue, they went from ibadah to sin of the tongue. And every time the tongue is mentioned with ibadah, know that the heart has to be connected. There's no ibadah to lisan biduni qalb. That's why Allah mentioned the qalb. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala said, لَعَنَّهُمْ, would cause them to be cursed and to have no barakah. وَجَعَلْنَا قُلُوبَهُمْ قَاسِيَةً, and made their hearts full of sin. يَحْرِفُونَ كَلِمَ عَنْ مَوَاضِعِهِ. And because of this, they started to take the words of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala out of context and switch them and misrepresent them and say that which is falsehood. Allah said, وَنَسُوا حَظًّا مِمَّا ذُكِّرُوا بِهِ. And they lost and forgot most of what we have gave them a knowledge and what we had reminded them of. So you see, the evil of losing the worship of the tongue is serious. And then Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala told the Prophet after all of that, فَعْفُ عَنْهُمْ وَاصْفَحْ. Now, have some mercy upon them and be relenting to them. Don't punish them, because part of this ibadat lisan is also you cannot do treachery. You cannot betray the trust. You say something, you have to follow through. Also, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala talked about the Christians. He said, وَمِنَ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّا نَصَارَى. And also those from amongst them that said we were Christians. أَخَذْنَا مِنْهُمْ. And we took from them also. We took from them also مِيثَاقَهُمْ. Their tongue made an oath. And then Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala said, وَنَسُوا حَظًّا مِمَّا ذُكِّرُوا بِهِ. And they forgot much of what we gave them of knowledge and what we have bestowed upon them. Allah said, وَأَقْرَيْنَا بَيْنَهُمْ. And because of this first sin with them, that is betraying the worship of the tongue in the wrong way, Allah said, then not only it caused them to forget the knowledge, but it made enmity between them. أَقْرَيْنَا بَيْنَهُمْ أَدَاوَةُ وَالْبَغْضَاءِ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. They start beefing. Look at the Christians. How many sects? How many dominations? Because of what? The issue of leaving the worship of the tongue. فَسَوْفَ يُنَبِّئُهُمُ اللَّهُ بِمَا كَانُوا يَصْنَعُونَ. And Allah will, on the day of judgment, soon He will tell them of what they used to do. Because they have the debate between themselves because of the leaving off the commitment, the oath, which is worship of the tongue. Remember, anything that Allah He loves and that He is pleased with is considered worship of the tongue. In this case, because we're talking particularly about the worship of the tongue. In general, anything that Allah He loves, He's pleased with, is considered ibadah. Here, ibadah of the tongue. If Allah loves it and He's pleased with it, it is worship of the tongue in the case of this issue. Also, from amongst the issue of the tongue, give a gratitude to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, being humble, having dil wal khudu', being humble. The opposite of the story of the man in Surah Al-Kahf, when he said, An akthar minka malan wa a'azzu nafara.
I have more than you of crops and springs of water and wealth. Nah. He said, Ma adunu and tabidu hada abadan. I don't think this will ever end. That he just violated the worship of the tongue. Because Allah said, Kullu man alayhi fan. Everything will perish except Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. Wa yabqa wajha rabbika dhul jalali mada dhul jalali wal ikram. The noble and the honorable face of Allah. And this is the exception. As Allah mentioned Surah Zumrah, yani illa ma sha Allah, on the day of judgment, وَنُفِقَ فِي الصُّورِ, the trumpet will be blown. وَصَائِقَ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, and everything in the heavens and the earth will perish, be destroyed. إِلَّا مَا شَاءَ Allah, except what Allah wills. There's some exceptions. The angels holding up the throne of Allah. One exception, the throne itself will not perish. But in the case of human beings, and your wealth on this earth, and your life as we know it on this earth, it will perish. So for a person to say, I don't think I will ever vanish. I don't think this will ever end. I have everything. I'm on top of the world. Who can destroy me? Who can stop me? This is going against the worship of the tongue. The worship of the tongue. If you disbelieve in the hour, if you disbelieve in the hour, this is the opposite of the worship of the tongue. So you'll find the scholars, whenever they talk about the issue, they'll bring the, as we say, pros and the cons, or that which is the issue at hand and the opposite. Because as the great poet, he said, Araftu shar laysa bishar. Naam, to know what is evil is not a bad thing. Learning something bad is not always considered bad. فَمَنْ لَمْ يَعْرِفُ شَرْ وَقَعَ فِيهِ. Because whoever doesn't know evil, perhaps because he doesn't know it's evil, he will go in that area, will fall in. Now, as the Prophet he said, وَبَيْنَهُمَا أُمُرُ مُشْتَبِهَاتٍ. Now, between what is clear on both sides, what is lawful and prohibited, there's something that people have a misconception about. لَا يَعْلَمُهُنَّ كَثِيرًا مِنَ النَّاسِ. Most people can't figure that out. So this, when you talk about the issue of the tongue, scholars, they mention both sides. And so we're mentioning from examples of this worship of the tongue. And why? Firstly, because again, the tongue affects all of your body. Everything that you say, it affects something in your body. If you say a good word and you are depressed, you're feeling low, or if someone says a good word to you and you're feeling low, well, it has a positive effect. That's why Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, His Prophet told the man, La tazalu lisanak radban min dhikrillah. Do not let your tongue be away from remembering Allah. They translate this, don't let the tongue, keep your tongue moist with the remembrance of Allah. It means do it often. And that's why Prophet he mentioned the example of the house that has the remembrance. مثل البيت الذي يعني ماذا فيه ذكر ربه ومثل البيت الذي ليس فيه ذكر ربه كمثل الحي والميت وكما قال. The example of the house in which Allah is being remembered versus the example of the house where Allah is not being remembered. The comparison is like life and death. Because the life that the worship of the tongue gives, the same thing. If you are sick sometime, wallahi, the first thing you want to do is get some medicine. Go to the doctor. Try making dhikr, reading Quran. Guarantee you, your body will respond in a positive way. You will feel some benefit from this worship of the tongue. Also, from amongst the worship of the tongue, what is part of this, which is great for the Muslims and a reminder, as-salah. That's why Allah said, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَمَاذَا وَالصَّلَاةِ. Allah said, and seek help by patience and through what? The salah. Salat, you cannot pray without the tongue. Some people say I'm praying silently and he's doing like this. That's not praying. Tongue has to be moving. Anytime you're mentioning anything, remember that Allah is pleased with, it's considered ibadah. And if the tongue is part of that scenario, it is worship of the tongue. So your salat, whether it be the 5 salat, whether it be that which is from the nawafil, the extra prayer, or as we say loosely, sunans, all of this, whether it be voluntary prayer that's not connected to a particular time or salat, whether it be the night prayer, Qiyam al-Layl, Tahajjud, many people have abandoned, Nasallah salam wa afiyah, whether it be Salatul Istikhara, when you need to make a choice, whether it be a Salatul Tasbih, in which you magnify and you glorify Allah in each position 75 times in all, whether salah. This all is considered the issue of the worship of the tongue. Reading the Quran, and then we'll talk about some of the effects, the bad effects that the tongue can have on the body. Reading the Quran. Ibn Kathir, he has a book called Fadal al-Quran. Fadal al-Quran, the virtues of the Quran. In that book, he talks about the merit, the virtues, the different things that are wonders and different lofty things connected to the Quran. One of his issues, he talks about the one who reads the Quran from a mushaf. He reads from a transcript of the Quran, from the page he's looking, and he's praying while holding the book or it on the stand he's looking. Verses reading, as they say, ala dhahil qalb, from his memorized portion of Quran. Ibn Kathir, in his book, he said that it is better to read from the heart. And many Sahaba, Tabi'een, felt that way. But Imam al-Albani, rahimahullah ta'ala, had a different approach. He said it's better, and this this is an issue of difference of opinion. No one is blamed. Each one has a point. If you take the position of Imam ibn Kathir, yes, it's better to read from the heart, because guess what? The best salat, that which is connected to the 5 daily prayer, which is connected to the pillars of Islam, which is the second thing after the Shahada, cannot be done except ala dhahir qalba. Cannot be done except from what is memorized. So Ibn Kathir has a great point. As for Imam al-Albani, then his point is talking about something that's connected to the eyes. Although we're talking about the tongue, to see the connection. He said it's better to read from the mushaf. And this is only talking about for the night prayer. This is only talking about the night prayer. Both Ibn Kathir and Imam al-Albani were talking about voluntary prayer or night prayer. He said it's better to read from the eyes. He said because by reading from the mushaf while you're praying for the night prayer, Imam al-Albani said you get 3 things. Verses 2. If you say what Imam Ibn Kathir said, you get ibadat al-qalb, because your heart is involved in every act of worship. Always remember that. And ibadat al-lisan. It's an action being done with the tongue that Allah loves. But if you take what Imam al-Albani said, then you not only get the worship of the heart, as your heart is involved. This is worship. You cannot have a salat and your heart is not involved. A'udhu billah. And the tongue. Of course, because every harf, as the Prophet said, ashra hasanat. You get 10 reward for each letter that you read, because this is showing from the tongue. Then Imam al-Bani added the eyes, the worship of the eyes, the looking at something that Allah, He loves. Allahu Akbar. So this shows you that the tongue can affect many parts of the body, just as the eyes and the heart. So the tongue here, when you talk about backbiting, it affects the body. It not only affects the body, it affects your merits of deeds. It affects your status with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala وَالْمَلَائِكَةِ وَالنَّاسَ جَمَعِينَ, and the people. Because believe it, when you do good deeds, Jibril, he reports that to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And Allah, he already knows, he doesn't need to report. And then Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says that he loves you. Then he tells Jibril to go and tell the inhabitants of the heavens, meaning the angels, that Allah loves so-and-so, so I love so-and-so, so won't you love so-and-so? Love so-and-so. And then they say, we love so-and-so. And then that's cast down into the earth. And Prophet Sallallahu said, and then all of the earth, guess what? They love you. Muslim, non-Muslim, they love you. They respect you. They don't even know why. They love you. Imagine the opposite. You're backbiting. Ghiba. Oh, Allah, our brother Abu Sajid made a good point. He was talking about this some months back in the summer at the Imam Muslim Center. He was talking about al-asl, the origins in the religion. He said that many times people say, "Oh no, this is permissible backbiting. Backbiting is permissible." He said, "No, backbiting is haram. There's an exception, but backbiting is not permissible." So people run around saying backbiting is permissible. No, we have ghiba, which is haram, clearly. Well, talking about don't eat one another's flesh. And Prophet said, "Tadruna mal ghiba." Do you all know what is ghiba? قال الله رسول أعلم قال الغيبة ذكر أخاك بما يكره. So the ghiba is that you mentioned about your brother what he disliked. And this ghiba comes from ghaib, meaning in the third person, meaning he's not there. You're talking out of his presence. Maybe if he was present, you wouldn't have the guts to say it. In most cases, you wouldn't. Unless you're like me. Allah understand. Then you have to make tawbah. But unfortunately, what is mainstream, people are going to talk behind your back. And the Prophet said this is what is the term ghiba. When you mention something that he disliked, remember, the tongue causing harm cannot be worship in this case of backbiting. And they said, well, what if what we say is there? We see it. We're not lying. The Prophet said, then what you're saying is true, is ghiba. And if you're saying something's not ghiba, then you have committed buhtan. You slandered him. Which is another case of the opposite of worship of the tongue. So, the backbiting affects you and your worship, your relationship with Allah, your status, how the angels, they don't praise you. Now they may, say something bad about you depending on who you're talking about. The people will not see you the same way. You won't have the same nur. People won't get the same vibe. It's a spiritual connection. That's why they said the tongue affects all of the body. And then you have the issue of the tongue affecting your iman. If you say something bad, profanity, slandering, abusing, arguing, you feel horrible as a believer. Maybe the non-believer doesn't feel anything, but the believer, he feels his iman. She feels her iman different. This is the issue of the opposite of the worship of the tongue. And you have many other issues such as deceit. As Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala mentioned this many times about the tongue, deceit. As the Prophet Sallam said about Ash-Shaytan, La'natullah alayhi, Sadaqu, it's called Sadaqa wa huwa kadhub. Sadaqa ma'dan wa huwa kadhub. He spoke the truth, talking about if you read Ayatul Kursi, but kadhub, Allah wasn't fa'ul, means most of what he's saying is lies. Kadhub, fa'ul, means most of what that person is doing is a lot of action. So if you take fa'ul and put kadhub, means that person 95, 99, 97% of what he says is lying. That's what the Prophet said about the shaitan. So look at that issue of the tongue. And inshallah tabaraka wa ta'ala, there will be more detailed talk about this issue, but we want to give a overview of the topic of the worship of the tongue, because in this day and time, wallahi, many shortcomings with the issue of the tongue. Many times people make a statement that they will, and we mean with the ability to do something, and they don't follow through. Many times people choose to say what's wrong over what's right. Many times people mix the truth with falsehood. Many times we're given to things on the tongue that don't increase you. They are not something that Allah He loves, neither is He pleased with. If Allah He loves it and Allah Azza wa Jalla is pleased with it, then know that it is ibadah. And if it is with the tongue, then it is worship of the tongue. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. We ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to forgive us for our shortcomings and to make this a beneficial topic and reminder, the issue of the worship of the tongue and the effects of it on the rest of the body. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Any questions, comments around the topic? The people online, maybe, I don't know. And live in the studio. Alhamdulillah, these are honored guests. I just don't have a lamb and meat and bread like Tumala Tusaluna Yom Eid and Naim. You know, these are honored guests for the believers to come to your place, you know, of worship, your place of, you know, living, your dwelling. This is like an honor. We don't do this enough. Allah Mustaan.
Alhamdulillah. Fikum barak, laysa su'al.
Inshallah, if we get more questions after we stop streaming, then inshallah we'll give them to you later.
Barakallahu fikum. Inshallah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, we'll keep you informed of the upcoming series around this topic. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yuhyi qulubana bi ibadatil wasi' wa ibadatil lisan wal ikhlas wa sidq fiha. We ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to give us the worship and to make our lives and bodies active with it, as well as the worship of the tongue, to give us sincerity and truthfulness in that. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, innahu samir du'a, is the one who hears the invocation. Wa sallallahu wa sallam baraka ala rasulil kareem. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa huwa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayh. And anything I said of good is from Allah. All the praise belongs to Him. I seek no praise. Any shortcomings is from myself or the influence of the devil. And may Allah keep them far from me. And lastly, I'm wearing this because I'm not a Saudi. This is the dress of the Arabs of old who were black, from the lineage of Ismail. And many people wear this, not just Arabs. So just so people can know, inshallah, I'm not a Saudi. You know, alhamdulillah. Barakallahu fikum.
I'd just like to inform the people as well with this series. Our brother Isa Abu Isa will also be contributing to the series as well in the future, bi'idhnillah. So we'll keep you posted.
Alhamdulillah. Inshallah, Abu Isa Abu Isa, our brother, will be contributing with this series in the near future. And inshallah, you will get all of the updates on that. Alhamdulillah, ila liqa, wa barakallahu fikum, wa salamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.